In the quiet suburban town of Westfield, two sisters had always lived parallel lives yet in very different worlds. Emily was the gentle-hearted twin, soft-spoken, and a teacher at the local elementary school, while her identical sister, Sarah, lived a life shrouded in secrecy as the newly retired head of Homeland Security. A woman who had commanded the respect of generals, presidents, and international agencies, but had never revealed the depths of her work to her community. Sarah had returned to her hometown to enjoy a quieter life, but the world was about to remind her that her skills, discipline, and authority were never truly left behind. On a particularly sunny morning, as Emily walked toward the grocery store, a group of notorious bullies, high school dropouts who thrived on intimidating others, spotted her. They had harassed countless people in town, and today, boredom and arrogance guided their eyes toward the petite woman carrying her shopping list. "Hey, teacher lady!" one of them shouted, swaggering forward. "Why don't you teach us something useful?" "Huh." Emily, used to ignoring their antics, quickened her steps, but unfortunately, Sarah was just a few feet behind, wearing identical jeans and a jacket. The bullies, not noticing the subtle differences, assumed Sarah was the same harmless woman they had mocked before. The leader, a muscular young man with too much pride and too little sense, blocked her path, smirking. "Not going anywhere till you answer us." Sarah raised an eyebrow, calm and unbothered, but she did not speak right away. Her silence only encouraged them, and two of the others surrounded her, one even daring to shove her shoulder lightly. "What's the matter, teacher? Cat got your tongue?" Sarah's sharp eyes scanned the area, calculating exits, threats, and advantages in less than a second. Inside her, the instincts of decades of training clicked into place, though her expression remained neutral. She thought about Emily and how many times her gentle sister had probably endured such humiliation quietly. Today, she decided, the bullies had chosen the wrong twin. Sarah tilted her head, her voice cutting with an authority they weren't expecting. "Step aside." The bullies burst into laughter, mocking her tone, but something in her voice sent a strange shiver down their spines. The leader, eager to show off, grabbed her wrist, thinking it was just another weak woman he could intimidate. That was his mistake. In one swift motion, Sarah twisted his arm behind his back and forced him to his knees in a movement so fast that the other bullies gasped, too stunned to react. She leaned down, her lips close to his ear, and whispered coldly, "You don't know who you're dealing with." The others tried to charge, but Sarah's reflexes were honed by years of dealing with threats far more dangerous than arrogant punks. Within moments, one was disarmed of his pocket knife and sprawled on the ground gasping for air. Another had his wrist locked painfully against a wall, and the last was frozen in place, too terrified to move as Sarah's glare pierced him. The entire altercation lasted less than 60 seconds, and the once loud bullies were reduced to whimpering, wide-eyed boys who suddenly realized they had picked the wrong target. When Emily finally walked back out of the store and saw the scene, her identical twin standing over the group of subdued bullies, her eyes widened in disbelief. "Sarah, what happened?" Sarah straightened calmly, releasing the leader, who scrambled away in humiliation. She brushed off her jacket as though nothing had occurred. "They thought I was you," she said with a faint smirk, "but I don't tolerate bullies." Emily shook her head, torn between pride and shock. The bullies, meanwhile, whispered among themselves, realizing they weren't dealing with just another woman, but someone trained, someone dangerous, someone who carried herself with the kind of authority that could only come from leading powerful men and women. Sarah let them go, knowing fear was punishment enough, but as they stumbled away, she called after them in a voice so commanding that even Emily flinched. "Come near my sister again, and you'll wish you hadn't been born." For the first time in their lives, the bullies felt a fear they couldn't joke away. The story of that encounter spread quickly across town, and soon everyone whispered about the mysterious twin who had humbled the feared gang with terrifying precision. People wondered who she was, and though Sarah remained discreet, those who looked closely saw the discipline, the command, and the presence of someone who had lived a life most civilians couldn't imagine. But the bullies weren't finished. They couldn't bear the humiliation of being beaten by a woman, and their pride demanded revenge. Little did they know, they were about to plunge themselves into a war they could never win, because they had crossed paths with the former head of Homeland Security. And Sarah wasn't done teaching them a lesson they would never forget. If you're enjoying this thrilling story of mistaken identity and shocking power, Make sure you subscribe to the channel right now so you don't miss the explosive continuation in Chapter 2. The bullies returned the next night under the cover of darkness, their anger boiling and their bruised egos demanding satisfaction. They gathered in the alley behind Emily's apartment, whispering plans to teach the teacher a real lesson. Armed with chains, knives, and reckless confidence, they thought they had numbers and surprise on their side. What they didn't know was that Sarah had anticipated their every move. Sitting calmly in the shadows of Emily's kitchen, she watched from the window as the group approached, her eyes cold and calculating. She had lived her life predicting terror threats, intercepting enemy plots, and securing national security. These small town punks were laughable in comparison. When the first bully tried to pry open the back door, Sarah was already waiting. The moment he stepped inside, she grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the wall with such force the entire group froze at the threshold. "You never learn, do you?" she said, her tone so sharp it sliced through their bravado like a blade. The others rushed forward, but Sarah unleashed a storm of controlled strikes, every movement efficient, every action precise. She disarmed one of his chain and looped it around his arms in seconds, used a kitchen chair to pin another, and within minutes the entire group was on the ground, groaning, restrained, and humiliated once more. But this time, Sarah didn't stop there. She pulled out her phone, and the bullies suddenly froze as they heard her calmly reciting their names, addresses, and criminal records into the receiver. "You think you're unknown? You think you're untouchable?" she asked, her voice booming as she paced before them. "I used to oversee the safety of an entire nation. I know everything about people like you before you even know yourselves." She wasn't bluffing. With her former Homeland security clearance, Sarah had access to data that would terrify anyone, and though retired, her network remained strong. Within minutes, flashing lights appeared outside. The local police, already tipped off. The bullies were dragged out in handcuffs. But not before Sarah delivered the final blow to their pride. She leaned down to the leader, her expression unreadable, and whispered, "You picked the wrong twin. Remember that." The boys were hauled off, their days of intimidation officially over, and Emily looked at her sister with awe. "You didn't have to do all this for me," Emily said softly. But Sarah shook her head, her eyes softening at last. "Yes, I did. Because bullies aren't just schoolyard pests. They grow into men who think fear is power. Someone has to stop them before it's too late." From that day forward, the town treated Sarah with a strange mixture of respect and awe. People still whispered about what she had done, but Emily knew the truth. That her sister had once held the security of a nation in her hands, and now had chosen to protect her family with the same fierceness. And the bullies. They learned a lesson so harsh it would follow them for the rest of their lives. That some battles are lost the moment you choose the wrong opponent. The wrong twin. The woman who had been the head of Homeland Security. If you enjoyed this thrilling, cinematic story and want more powerful scripts like this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and turn on notifications so you never miss another jaw-dropping story.